Hello, I am Tam on the TamBoTC channel, and I want to talk about. I have to turn down the volume too because it was a bit louder when I was doing my last Mass Effect video. But I want to go something into Mass Effect Andromeda a little further. I had a comment that I decided not to say anything because you can't really say anything. But I'm glad that person loves Andromeda as much as they do. I just couldn't find a way to comment that wouldn't be me, like, you know, like, it's kind of, I don't know, because I find the game doesn't nearly have as much replay value. Really, the only replay value goes into the romances, which is kind of restrictive because they have certain characters that are certain, into certain people, so different individuals, so they're kind of restricted where it's kind of like the equivalent of Skyrim a little bit in the other Mass Effect games. Maybe not so much 1, but at least 2 and 3 where it doesn't really matter for the most part. I mean, there are a couple others, like I think non-squad mates, just people on the ship, are just like would romance one gender or whatever. But yeah, there's definitely more options there, and that's not the only thing those games have for options. There's more going on in the dialogue. And while Mass Effect Andromeda has the uh, dialogue options and stuff, and it does look like multiple, they still mostly lead to the same, like, conclusion and everything for the most part. And if there are, excuse me, hiccups, I don't know why like that always happens while I'm trying to do one of these videos. There's always something. But every time there's there's only like another option or so. I'm kind of losing thought because of that. Sorry for that, for the brain fart. But with Mass Effect Andromeda, I just don't find myself replaying it because I find it just such a chore to come back to. It's got very Ubisoft kind of open worlds. And you know what? Yang Yi made a really good video on Mass Effect Andromeda 7 years ago, where he described it as being a sitcom. And I think Salt Factory, his video on Outer Worlds and the way that proceeds, like story and dialogue and stuff and side quests, you can also kind of contribute to Mass Effect Andromeda. And Mass Effect Andromeda is that game where it takes itself seriously up to an extent, and then it treats it like a comedy, or somebody has to get in a one-liner. And it's kind of like the Mass Effect 1 through 3 are the equivalent of the good humor and the good Marvel movies of the past, and after Infinity War and like they're more the equivalent of like Civil War kind of time period, probably up to Infinity War and Endgame. Where Mass Effect Andromeda is like Ant-Man, Quantumania, and Thor: Love and Thunder type of humor and such, and taking itself seriously. It's just, there's so many goddamn times they throw jokes at you in just the beginning with them bantering amongst each other, the banter on the ship with one another. There's just so much. There's only so few times it actually feels like there's Mass Effect dialogue, or fitting enough dialogue that's smartly written. Yang Yi also pointed out some of this stuff too, like with the father figure, even though he's barely in the game. But the dialogue is just so freaking terrible. From people saying, I made him angry, maybe because I shot him in the face, and it's like, what a stupid line. And then my face is tired. By the way, I still have the thing where, like, so I think most of your squad mates as well as your main character are mostly decently designed, but it seems like for every other NPC, everyone's freaking ugly. Their designs are awful. I can at least understand that for Oblivion because because of the time and the kind of technology they had to work with that game, the limitations and such they had. Technology, you know. It just doesn't come with the same excuse here. And I was checking into this to see if there's multiple endings or important characters that can die if you don't do their loyalty missions. There just isn't. You don't even really need to do the loyalty missions, and even if they did die, most of the freaking companions I don't give a crap about and feel like lesser versions of what we got before. And somebody also brought up a good point. It does feel very similar to the way, I don't know why my character, like, this movement's just fucking weird. Stop getting stuck on boxes and crap. And
get it running, maybe buildings get power.
It just feels like
we can hunt that signal down.
The game needs to throw goddamn humor at you every goddamn second, and it's just not good. It's got good combat, and there are things you can argue for it. But once again, you need the combat to be complemented. And because I find the world boring and mediocre and tedious, because I don't find that they take the plot, which is supposed to be serious, because it is a serious situation, or situations they're put in. I find the villain very forgettable. Like, the first time you see the villain, he's just watching his father put his hand out to this thing, and he tries doing the same thing, and that's it. And then the rest of the game, he's just kind of there, making, like, weak threats. Once in a while, frickin' Saren alone was more memorable than this guy.
I'm not a salvager. I'm a
I don't even remember his frickin' name. There's only so few things I like. I don't even like. Why are there such bad textures? People's mouths still move really weird in the game. I don't know how it is if it's on next gen, but it still looks awful. And I know that Mass Effect isn't trying to do the same thing, but because of that same argument, also up is not jump made for this is most of the time what the dialogue's going to be, just these two, and it still leads to the same thing.
Help me with the power relay.
It's just I'm slightly saying something more stern, or maybe something nice, more nice. That's it.
I'll enable the generators out there.
The textures to a lot of the side characters and stuff, like, and especially when they're in a cutscene with you, they look freaking awful. The characters, like, take for example the Turians. You look at the designs of the Turians in both the Mass Effect series and in the Mass Effect Andromeda game. What is with their designs and their armor and their faces? Why don't they have cool designs like they did, or feel like the textures aren't that off and weird? Once again, you can argue the limitations for the original Mass Effects, but even then, I still think because it's trying to be going back to the up is not jump thing, where he compared Skyrim to Witcher, this game's trying to look more realistic, and it's just coming out very uncanny looking. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to tell you.
This analysis provides us with important research.
No, scan it.
Interface possible. Location marked.
Okay. How do I...
Changing position.
How do I get them to follow me? What is going on here? Yeah, I always find myself not wanting to come back to this. I don't nearly find myself enjoying the puzzle. Like this, I freaking hate those weird word puzzles, like alien language puzzles. Like, what are those? Those make the freaking Oblivion, like, mini games and stuff, as well as the computer game Fallout has, look like masterpieces in comparison. What the frick is that stuff? It's just got a bunch of planets with that stuff, and while Mass Effect 1 had that same thing, and you don't it's not necessarily something you have to do. I just found it just so tedious, and it was just a game where I was just kind of like, I have to take breaks between this game because of the way they portray the story, the replay value, the dialogue. I mean, there are fans for different games, and I'm glad there are fans of different games, but you need... I don't want my argument, my final argument to people who bring up things, even though I still go by, if you love that game, love it. Here's where I stand if I have to definitively go somewhere, though, with what I'm about to say, and still take my opinion with a grain of salt. All the kind of stuff I've said in previous videos where I say, it's just my opinion, you make your own at the end of the day. But if I have to make some sort of stand somewhere that I feel should definitively be taken, to some extent at least, is I don't want these games to shape the future games from the people that protect them and defend them to crap. Like, frickin' Mass Effect Andromeda, I don't want the next Mass Effect to be Love and Thunder with its humor. Do not want it to be that. That is too much humor. It's unbearable. It's freaking ridiculous. And it just for it to feel like it betrays me too by taking itself seriously up to like the very end or a certain point where it just doesn't. Or I can't buy the seriousness of it because of how much it freaking does it. It almost feels like you're mixing in Mass Effect's freaking seriousness with Borderlands' sense of humor, and it, both personalities and styles just do not fit. Finally, some freaking enemies to fight. But yeah, and the same can be said for freaking. I already get there. And while I thought the combat was great, I never found it complemented by the enemies in the world. I never found the worlds really interesting to explore. They were just pretty for a moment, and then that was it. There was no actual vibe or feeling that you gave a crap about after that. And the same with the enemies. I just find the enemies are really boring, or just terribly designed. Or they just don't mix it up enough to make it feel like they have the same thing going that makes it have that 5 or 6 seconds of fun that Halo has as its philosophy. And with Fallout 76, I want to say I don't want that game to shape the future of other games. I would want more of a Skyrim together, and I get a different vibe from how people defend that. Like, it can be your favorite game, it can be whatever you want, but at the end of the day, I don't want a game that's monetized hell. I don't want a game where they don't put as much focus into the story and characters, because the story and characters are so goddamn weak. The only part I think is really strong, and it sucks, it's that it's part of Fallout 76's legacy, though, if you can even call it that, is the frickin' Cthulhu stuff that's being built, the like Lovecraftian stuff. But why did it have to be in that, attached to that game of all things? Frick that game as a whole. It's freaking disastrous with boring characters. Like, I've never been bored by Brotherhood of Steel. I would rather join the Brotherhood of Steel in any of the other Fallout games. Just frick that Brotherhood of Steel. They're boring. I think boring, average things are worse than really terrible things. Because at least I can laugh at how bad those terrible things are. And they do get remembered in the end. This, I can't. And you're also technically defending a game that had so much, and I know it's, you should leave stuff in the past, such, but they're still doing things to freaking make this game. Legacy Killer made, I'm not a big fan of Legacy Killer all the time, but he made a great video on Fallout 76 recently that I wholeheartedly agree with. Like, because of the direction the game is taking, and that it's taking less focus on the parts of Fallout that Fallout should be known for, and focusing for this other stuff. You got, like, world events and stuff that remind me of Destiny. It's more like it's going in the direction of... It's kind of like you have Destiny mixed with a poor man's Fallout.
I'll take another look around the outpost.
And it just does not mix well, in my opinion, and it's repetitive. Not everybody is going to like it, and I think really the ones that are defending 76 are mostly the ones that love that stuff. They'll probably talk about side quests here and there, like but other than that, that's still not enough. Like, you need more than just a couple of side quests to be good. Like, the main story should be good. When it comes to Fallout 4, even though the main story, the goal of the main story is the same goddamn one Fallout 3 does, it's all that in-between stuff building up to it that I think is pretty good. Not so much the dialogue, well, mostly the dialogue tree or whatever you want to call it, that stupid dialogue thing. But I do like the characters. I like that we're working alongside Nick Valentine on this almost detective thing, and we have to track down the killer of our wife/husband and find our son, and that there's intrigue to like certain things like where the institute is, his age, what his son's age is. Are people even theorizing if we're a synth? Like, there's still interesting characters along the way. Piper, Dogmeat, Strong, all these sorts. It's got some of the best companions. You can't even bring the companions with you, and they're not even interesting or memorable in Fallout 76. And I kind of wish you had. I know the argument can be made, oh, it is a multiplayer game. I've seen that. That's kind of like some of the other dumb arguments I've seen with other things. I don't know necessarily what to use as an example, but it's just dumb in general. The freaking simplifying to think something down to that. No, yes, it is a freaking multiplayer thing. You don't think I don't know that? I saw the trailers, I saw the presentation when the game came out. The problem isn't that. The problem is a freaking everything else. I actually do want a multiplayer. I was dreaming of that, but as the game slowly came out, the realization of it, and even today, there's still realization, even if it's in a better state, of problems that it has and shares with other games that have similar stupid problems, such as the monetization crap, the Fallout First crap. And yes, I have Fallout First. I actually said in the comments of that previous video. But goddamn, it's what it stands for. That I don't want it affecting future Fallout games. I want it to them to actually build a better game out of it, if anything. A sequel. Same with ESO and such. I would like a better game than what we got. I don't want ESO to be the decider for what the next Elder Scrolls is going to be, even though I know it's probably not going to be. I don't want just as the same with Mass Effect Andromeda, Fallout 76, but I probably can't stop that. But the problem is, if people keep supporting that kind of crap, we might sadly, unfortunately, get it. Is that really what you want? And it's probably going to even get worse, technically, from how we've seen other things play out. I'm not saying all the time, but it seems more likely that it'd go in that direction, and I hate that that's the thing. Oh wait, it wants me to activate this.
We should have
Look how
access
awful
to
that
everything in
is.
Site 1 now.
What's going on there?
Correct. Plus, I've located the source of the signal we detected
His
in
textures
orbit.
are gone, his
Nothing from the
freaking
large
mouth
alien
is
structure
moving
just beyond
goofy.
Site 1. The structure appears almost identical to the one your father used to adjust
But
the
yeah,
atmosphere
I
on the
can't
previous
take Mass
planet.
Effect Andromeda
It's worth
seriously because
investigation.
its dialogue is also just as terrible as Dragon Age 2. It's just as terrible as, it's even got the simple thing like Dragon Age 2. It's so close to that goddamn game, so many ways. I know that they use colors for certain things in Mass Effect 1 through 3, but that's only for the Renegade Paragon. Everything else you have to, do this or that. And yes, it does have one or two options, but at least those options feel way more impactful and powerful, and you love those cutscenes when there are these big Renegade or Paragon moments. They really stand out. And they have an effect. Like, I think the only thing I remember feeling like that is a bar fight you can start in this game, but besides that, there's nothing else that really stands out to me.
That almost
Just
feels
do
like
that.
a lead. Damn right it's worth investigating.
A warning. Radiation
No,
levels
I
beyond
feel
the
like it
perimeter of
should
Site 1
be,
are well above acceptable
like, for all the
limits.
things
You cannot
people
proceed
gave
without additional
Starfield
protection.
as well crap, you know
Only one
how
reason to see if that alien structure
when there's
can
a
make difference
romance
to this
thing, it
planet.
shows the obvious
Come on,
flirt
we
word
better
next
find
to
that
it,
vehicle Clancy
and
mentioned.
people complain about that. Isn't that the same goddamn thing this game's doing, though? This game does the same exact goddamn thing, yet there's people that probably attack Starfield for that. but defend Mass Effect Andromeda and such for that exact goddamn same thing. I don't know. Like what game you're gonna like, even if it's your favorite thing of all time. I don't want to let you down on that, but I don't want these kind of games shaping the future. And know that at this point, I've just gotten to the point. Somebody actually said something really good to me. Is if people are going to send hate comments, don't even reply to them. That's what they want you to do. So if they do something hateful or they use their opinion in a way to also harass you, not only can you not take that seriously, just you have tools. You can block that person from being able to comment on your channel or have their comments seen on the channel. That is an option, by the way. And you can fricking just remove their comments, as well as notifications of their comments. So I just decided I'm not replying to those mean, really nasty people. Sometimes I try to rationalize with them. Not worth it. Some of them just want to start a fight for the sake of drama. So I'm just going to remove your ass now. It's not even a freaking, if you're, and it has to definitively be if you're trying to do that crap. The only way I wouldn't be able to tell probably is if you're trying to be manipulative, but that's where I ask my friend, and I've asked my friend Dave on the previous couple comments too, and he gave me input. So I'm pretty sure that both, if I don't see it, he's probably going to see it. So it's going to be hard for you either way. As well as the same goes for don't harass the people watching either, the people who are also commenting. Don't harass any of them, or the same will happen. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. There are 100 ways you can say something and share your opinion, whether it agrees or disagrees with me, no matter what, without having to be a rude jerk about it. I don't want that crap, and now I'm just straight up, the smartest thing to do is not to feed into it, just get rid of it and block it, if it's going to be that way. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that stuff, and I think I'm pretty much done. I hope the game audio wasn't too loud. I know there's more quieter situations because of the mission I'm doing right now, because it's not necessarily too loud of a mission, except for that one shooting part. But yeah, there are good things to Mass Effect Andromeda. I may not hate it as much as I used to, but because I made a couple of videos of Mass Effect back in the day and how much this game like irked me, I even reviewed it. And though I don't know how many people have seen those, but coming back to the game, while I don't hate it as much as I used to, just like I've been talking about with some other games, it's just a game that comes off of the shoulders and has the name Mass Effect and is still somewhat recent. Even if it's not super recent, it's still somewhat recent. And it's freaking EA and BioWare without some of the better employees that worked on the previous Mass Effects. I mean, they do have some of them, definitely, but at the same time, not everybody. Oh wait, is this oops. I did not mean to do that. Goodness, I hate this scanner thing.
Special requisition, all-terrain scout rover.
But
A Nomad, 6-wheel
yeah.
drive, jump jets, just what you need.
Oh, we have to have the Mako.
This must be what Clancy meant.
The crate requires
Is it
an
gonna let me
access code
press the
from a
button,
forward
please?
station. Forward stations act as emergency resupply checkpoints.
And can you let me press the button, please?
I can call one down. Let's find a good spot. No good.
There you go.
The forward station should have the access code, once we call it down.
Okay. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say and add. Once again, like I said, take my opinion with a grain of salt.
Automated protocols activated.
I know I can be harsh and negative on things, and I did forget the disclaimer this time, but disclaimer here. I can be a freaking negative son of a bitch.
Looks like the forward station supplies are intact.
But yeah,
It
it sucks to see these games come out the way they do. Alright. Anyways, I'll see you next time. If you did find something interesting or enjoyed, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your comments below. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.